I am so excited to speak to our guest today. She is an aesthetic RN all the way from Canada. Please help me to introduce aesthetic injector Kendra.
Hello.
Thank you, Kendra, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No worries, no worries. So let's jump right into it.
Hi, my name is Jonathan McLean, and I'm the founder and CEO of McLean Aesthetics.
Welcome to the dark side.
Let's go.
Tell us, Kendra, how did you get into the industry and was it complicated or tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, so after I took my registered nurse degree, I started doing floor nursing on a neurology stroke unit. Then I kind of realized floor nursing might not really be for me. So I had already received Botox a few times, and I was quite interested to see what registered nurses could do in the industry. So I know every province and every country, there's different rules and regulations, but registered nurses in Alberta, we do have a decent amount of freedom in this industry, which is awesome. So I took a course about 6 years ago and just started hustling and never looked back. So that's kind of how I started.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand. I just posted something on Instagram yesterday about how some states in the US, many RNs can inject and only mid-levels can inject. How confident were you when starting to inject?
Like zero. I had zero confidence. A lot of, and I mean, every state, everywhere you go, there's different like regulations and courses you have to take. However, in Alberta, it's not super regulated. So you really can just take any course and start injecting, which is kind of terrifying. So when I started, it was definitely different. I did have to take a course that we had to write exams and stuff like that. But even after taking that course, treating somebody's face and them paying for it is very different than, treating somebody in the medical field for, pancreatitis. So I feel like, I took my course and it just, you still have to do so much more education to really feel confident in it. So I was very lucky to kind of find myself within a few clinics where they could really mentor me. And then about 3, 4 years after I started injecting was when I opened my own location. I still do have a medical director that oversees everything, and that's what you need in Alberta. So he also injects as well. So it's nice to have that support, but it's huge. Like it's such a learning curve. It's so different than anything you learn in nursing school. So yeah, I mean, my confidence level is very high now, but that's after 6 years of injecting a lot of faces. So, yeah.
Super cool, super cool. And that's important that I'm glad you said that because training and continuing education is huge, right? Whatever you
Yes.
specialize in, whatever you do, you have to continuously train to gain that confidence. I
100%.
yeah, I specialize in really working with med spas, dermatology offices, plastic surgery offices to provide talent. One of the main questions I get from injectors all over is, how do I get into the industry? What are some tips to get into the industry? Could you describe some tips that might be helpful for injectors to gain their foot in the door in the industry?
Right. So I would definitely say look for a very credible course in your area. So in Alberta, we have a few courses that are very well known and they actually help you find employment within your area. So I would say wherever you are, start looking around for courses that, have a very well known that are very well known. So then potentially they can help you find employment afterwards. Once you take the course, you have to just keep taking courses. So you want to go to conferences, you want to really embed yourself in the industry, even if you kind of reach out to people that you find interesting on social media platforms and stuff like that. Start kind of getting your name out there and find somebody that you can mentor under and do a preceptorship program. So a weekend course, amazing. Taking a few weekend courses, even more amazing. But really going to those conferences, starting to have a relationship with other injectors and other people in the industry can really help you get your foot in the door. And then watching somebody inject and just sit there for like hours on end and days and months of just like watching how somebody does consultations, how somebody does a treatment, why they use product where. Like there's just so much more to know than a weekend course can offer you. So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I like how you put that also because you're like immersing yourself in there,
Yes.
forcing yourself in the market.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
good, good, good. Yes, I think that I agree with that 100% too. What are some pros and cons you can say of this industry for people that are looking to join this industry? They see it, they're like, this is interesting, I want to be in it. What are some pros and cons that you can give being a veteran?
I would say pros, it's really nice that you can have a little bit more of a lifestyle. Working in the hospital, working for a union, you know, you had to apply for your vacation a year in advance and you didn't know if you'd get approval. Whereas here you have a little bit more freedom to maybe potentially have weekends off. I would say like there's a lot of pros, but there's probably more cons right now. And I'm not sure in the States, but definitely in Canada, it seems like there's a lot of nurses trying to get into the industry for the wrong reasons. So if you're trying to make quick money, it's not going to happen. I feel like you really, really have to work hard on building your clientele and getting those return clients. So quick money is not going to happen. It will happen if you're very passionate about it. And then also just you know, social media can really alter people's expectations because unfortunately, some clinics or places people will post unrealistic outcomes and then they come to you expecting that outcome from one syringe or 5 units of Botox when unfortunately, you know, social media lies and can potentially make people think that they're going to get a different outcome than they actually will with certain products and procedures.
How do you I guess communicate with your patient the expectations when they come into your chair?
I'm very much about education. Like when people leave, they're like, they know their muscle anatomy, they know how many units they need, where syringes, what kind of product we're using, why we're treating a certain area. So I feel like a lot of it is education. Sometimes people may leave and still not fully understand. And then that's when you have to kind of decide, is this a client I even want to treat? Because if they have unrealistic expectations, they're never going to be happy and I'm never going to be happy treating them. So I feel like really educating and building a relationship with a client so then you know you're going to be seeing them for the next couple of months, couple of weeks until you get them to their goal. And then they are also aware that, you know, every 3 months I need to get this treatment. Every 6 months I need this treatment. So then you really build that relationship with them through education.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand. I was
Mhm.
speaking to some injectors in my community, and they were telling me like the one thing that they're not liking right now is patients that maybe will come to them and then they'll go somewhere else and they'll come back and go somewhere else. What is kind of your view on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, there is going to be those clients that are going to hop around and it's either money and they're finding like maybe a better deal somewhere else.
Mm.
But I find a lot of times if I do have a client that hops around, they kind of realize grass isn't always greener on the other side. And maybe, yes, I'm going to charge more at Hebe where my clinic. However, they're going to get the outcome of somebody who's had that education and had those years of training. So I think no matter what, like hairstylists, massage therapists, really any industry, you're going to have those people that jump around. You just have to almost just realize that, like, okay, maybe they're not going to be my forever client and they'll just come in every 6 months for a bit of Botox, but you will get those clients that are going to be so loyal to you. So there's going to be both.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand. So let's talk about your clinic. Tell us what type of services do you offer inside your clinic?
Right. So we used to be an injection only clinic. So we do Botox, Dysport, dermal fillers, and I also offer Sculptra. And then we did purchase a Potenza radio frequency microneedling machine approximately like 8, 9 months ago. So we're slowly embedding ourselves into more of the medical aesthetics facials. So we do the chemical peels, skin tightening. And then, with Sculptra, we do Sculptra BBLs as well. So
Amazing. Are those trending right now in that area?
like the BBLs or the
Yeah.
radio freak. Yeah. So the BBLs definitely, I feel like once again, like some people, they have to understand that like a Sculptra BBL is not going to give them a Kardashian butt. That is going to be surgery. However, this is more of a safer procedure, but it can cost a lot of money. So it's very much like having a client come in and really, really educating them on what to expect with their outcomes. But I do find like I just started doing it in September. And I do find all my clients who have been getting the Sculptra, we've had a great understanding of their outcome and they've been very pleased with it. So it is becoming more popular for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for ssure, for sure. Now, I want to go back to something you said previously about your practice starting off as an injectable only clinic. Now, many providers I meet, they always say, yeah, I want to go out on my own, but I don't know if I'm going to make enough money just doing injectables alone without the machines and all the extras added on. Is it profitable or can you make it as a provider if your clinic is only just injectables?
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like for myself, I did it a very safe way. So what I pretty much did was I was working in Calgary, which is a bigger city, about 2 hours away. So I was working there for approximately 3 years, just driving back and forth. And then I opened my own location, but I was just renting a room within a clinic and I was building clientele. And I built clientele for about a year and a half before I built out my own location. And then after I had my own location, I purchased a machine after, we had that like 1,000, 2,000 clients already in the bank that, they've already built their loyalty to me. So I feel like, injectables is maybe a safer way to start because machines can cost a lot and you don't want to buy cheap machines because you're not going to get the results and then that client's going to go somewhere else. So I would say like if you just started safe, I still had my job at the hospital to pay the bills. This was not paying the bills. This was something that I was just passionate about. And then I slowly transitioned out of the hospital while I made more money within Hebe. So I was very cautious and very safe about it. I didn't just like open a huge front end location right away. So I would say definitely you just have to have that clientele to back you.
Nice, nice. What were some obstacles that you endured with opening the business?
Well, COVID. So I pretty much opened during COVID and I also had my daughter. So it was I would say, trying to find a location that in Canada where I was closed down for 6 months 1 year. So we were closed down for a very long time. And a lot of places that you were subleasing, they didn't care. Right? You still had to pay your rent because they had to pay their bills. So I would say COVID definitely affected us. And just more or less, leaving a union where you had a pension, where you had benefits, where you had overtime and you had all of that. Like it was just more of just scary, I would say, just leaving all of that to just like leap forward. But I mean, I don't regret any of it, but it was definitely a scary time for a little bit.
Do you enjoy this more than, I guess, working for a practice?
Yes and no. I love injecting and I love educating. The business portion was never something that I was like, ooh, I want to do payroll, So that was never like my like true passion. But I saw an opportunity. We are a city, it kind of in between two bigger cities, and there wasn't a lot of injectors here. There wasn't a lot of clinics. So I saw an opportunity and I took it. I don't regret it at all. I just feel like now I've been able to hire out like an office manager, and I have more people running the business portion. So I get to do what I love, which is injecting and educating. So I would just say I don't regret anything, but at the time I was like, oh man, this is a learning curve. Like you don't learn business stuff in nursing school. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Was the hiring hard? Was it challenging?
Um, Not really. Like I kind of lucked out. My first injector kind of fell into my lap and she was just like, I'm gonna shadow you until you hire me. And I was like, okay. And then she's awesome. So I kind of knew a few other girls like in the industry, and I knew a few other girls just from them coming in. So it was pretty easy to hire. Like I only have a 4-girl team, and then including myself, there's 5 of us. So we're not a huge team, but we're very strong, and we've all kind of built a really good relationship. So I've heard horror stories about hiring people, but I think I just lucked out with all my girls. So
It's the energy you put out. They just came.
yes.
They felt it.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, awesome. So I want to talk about social media. Social media has changed the game for this industry. How has it helped benefit you? And what are some tips that people can try to build their social media?
Yeah, social media is huge. Like when I first started my first injector place, uh, I didn't have a lot of clients, obviously, because you're starting out. So I just sat in the back and just, did posts. I talked on it. I kind of built a relationship so people knew who I was as a person, and they also knew who I was as an injector. And then as I started getting busier, that's when I got another position in Calgary. It's called at Hebe.Beautybar. So that place was much more up my alley. And I was able to build clientele there. But once again, I sat on social media between every client. At night, I was responding to clients at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, like booking them myself. Like I hustled a lot, and I still find myself booking clients at like 10 o'clock at night. My husband's like, like you've done that, you can stop. But I find just being very consistent and not being and being real. So people like see you maybe when you're not looking your best, or people see you and you're just like making a talk about something that's not aesthetics. People know you as a person. They know, they're not just looking at you and like, oh, this injector did these lips and this jawline. So I feel like having a very good social media presence is huge. I feel like most of our clients, that's how I've probably built all my clientele was through Instagram.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's very, very important. And now,
wow.
and now reels are very important. So I think that you probably want to do like 2 or 3 reels a week, and then you want to do like stories every day. I've been really bad because I just had my son, but usually I'm very good at that. So
Are you on TikTok too?
I'm on TikTok more for personal use because I really enjoy it. I have my office manager has just opened up a TikTok for Hebe because we know that's the direction we have to go. So we're definitely starting to build our clientele and build our followers on TikTok now. Yeah.
Super cool, super cool. How do you decide how much to share? I know you have your family life, and how do you know how much to share about that?
Um, so I'm a pretty open book. Like when my clients sit in my chair, they know a lot about me, and I feel like I know a lot about them too. Like I know like I don't want to be too descriptive, but we build a really good relationship. So I feel like for myself, I just don't post a lot about my kids just because the world's a weird place. Um, but I feel like on a day-to-day basis, I'll post a lot of my personal stuff. I don't really post like if I'm traveling somewhere or something like that. But yeah, I feel like I'm a pretty open book on social media. Yeah.
How do you build a good work-life balance? Are you constantly working too much? Like tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I feel like I am a workaholic and so is my husband. So I think sometimes we both have to like tell each other like we got to step back a bit. But I do find what I've told myself is when I'm at work, I'm going to work, and then when I'm at home, I'm with my family. So my Mondays usually I'll work like 11 till 7. I'll go into work at like 9 to do more admin stuff. But then when I come home, I'm with my kids. On weekends, I'm with my kids. So I try to not go on social media. I try to not respond to clients. I try to just be disconnected from my clients unless it's business hours. So I was only working 4 days a week until my daughter was like 18 months old, just so then, we could hang out more. And yeah, so I'm hoping to ideally only work 3, 4 days a week because I have young kids and that
Yeah,
they're important.
I get that. I can definitely get that, understand that.
Yeah.
Now, what are some keys to having a successful career?
I would say not over spending. So like I said, I was super cautious at the beginning. I was very much, okay, I have this much money in the bank. This is how much product I can buy. I never owed my business anything until I started buying machines, obviously, because they're super expensive. But I just felt like I was taking baby steps. I don't have like a big, I don't owe my business anything. So I would just say that's kind of the main thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Is
Mhm.
there any conferences or trainings that you can suggest to the audience to maybe check out if they're looking to gain more experience?
Right. So in Calgary, where I used to work at, it's called Frida.Beautybar. So there's Frida Academy. So Kimber's the one who runs it. She was my mentor slash boss like 3+ years ago. And she does an amazing course in Calgary. So that's local to us, obviously. And she also does really well with helping them find employment. So actually both of my nurse injectors took her course and she was the one who reached out to me being like, you need to scoop these people up. So that's awesome if you're local. There's a PA in California named Nicola. So she is PA Nicola in, I think that's her Instagram, PA underscore. You know who I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So she honestly, I haven't met her in person yet, but I find her like everything that she does on social media, she's very well educated. I know that she's opened her own training. I would 100% recommend her. Dr. Lana in New York is another doctor that I've been to. So I went to New York. When did I go? In June. And we did a 2-day course. She's advancing and doing a bunch of different courses. I think she might even be doing a cadaver now. So she also was amazing. And she has a really strong team that like you could text them and they'll get back to you right away. So they're still supporting me even 8 months down the road. So those are kind of the two people in the States that I look at. Dr. K as well, Kay. She's amazing. I've taken a few of her courses and she also, well, Dr. Lana and Dr. K, they actually both have like support groups. So Dr. Lana's on Facebook and Dr. K, hers is on Instagram. And it's just a group of injectors. So if people are like, oh, like this glabella line, I just can't seem to get it, there's a bunch of support there from other injectors with all different education saying like how to treat something. So I find that really, really helpful, even if I'm just kind of intrigued, like, oh, I've never seen that before, somebody has an answer. So it's really nice because they give you ongoing support after the fact. So
Awesome, awesome. I'm gonna drop those below so everybody can check those people out for sure.
perfect.
I know a lot of them, so I know they're
Yeah.
amazing. Definitely.
Yeah, they are.
Do you think that cadaver course is essential to an injector's like experience?
I do. So I've only done online cadaver courses. My goal this year is to do one in person. So Dr. Sebastian, I'm going to ruin his last name. However, he does a very good cadaver course in Canada and the States. And Dr. Swift, they seem to be teaming up. So I would say even any courses with those two. But I would say a cadaver course is very important because then you're looking at the face and you're looking at the muscles, you're looking at the ligaments and like, oh, I pull this ligament. This is what happens. This is why I'm putting filler here. So I think it just kind of gives you more of an idea as to why you're putting product somewhere. Because, you know, the last 2-ish years were COVID when I was in the industry. I had to do like everything through Zoom, which kind of sucks. But now the world is reopening. So yeah, I would say cadaver course is huge. It should almost be like a requirement.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, speaking more about the
Yeah.
aesthetic industry. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you got planned next.
Okay, awesome. So my Instagram is Hebe.Injector and our business Instagram is Hebe.Beautybar. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, awesome. And until next time, bye.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.